Hi, I'm Joe Connolly. Today with Faith Lee, the owner of an unusual sort of coffee shop in the heart of Midtown Manhattan. And her story shows how many different iterations and niches there can be in almost any industry, including coffee shops, as you will hear. Bird and Branch at 45th and 9th is a specialty coffee shop with a mission to restore the city. And we'll get into that. But first of all, I have to ask you, Faith, how is business in Midtown Manhattan right now? A lot of regulars haven't been in a while. What's it like there?
Yeah, it's very different. It's kind of scary going into Midtown, comparing it to what it used to be. It's a little bit of a ghost town. Things have picked up a little bit in the last couple months as the weather's been getting better, but if you walk around Midtown, it is so different from what it used to be. It used to be totally bustling with a ton of people working in the area, tourists, and all of that has kind of gone away, and a lot of businesses haven't really recovered from it.
So, how are you making it? What are you doing while so many people are still away, Faith?
It's been really hard, and we talk about pivoting all the time. We've had to pivot several times since the pandemic started. One way that we have made it work is during the time at the height of the pandemic, around March, April, May, we actually had to shut the shop down because we just didn't feel like it was safe for our staff to be coming in from other boroughs to work, but also just like as a general sort of responsibility, what are we doing for the community? We felt like it wasn't safe to have this place open to customers. So we shut it down, and we actually asked our customers to participate in a program that we started. We called it Give COVID the Bird. And our customers were able to purchase breakfasts, and we prepared them and delivered them to hospitals around the city. And that actually really helped us stay alive during those 2 months.
Because the customers were paying for the donated breakfasts.
Correct.
So many people tell us that early charity work of a sort to help emergency responders really did help their business more than they imagined. How else have you pivoted?
We have started serving a lot of things that normal coffee shops won't serve. During the summer months, we did shave ice. Both me and my husband have like affinity to shave ice. I grew up going to Taiwan a lot, and so there's a lot of shaved ice in that culture. And then also Hawaii has a lot of shaved ice. So we ended up getting a shave ice machine and serving, frozen desserts, just because we felt like we were trying to tap into the customers that we had, maybe coming for a second time during the day, or just tapping into some more customers that normally wouldn't come to our shop.
And then it's great to see you smiling. You're smiling.
And in the fall, we started doing these care packages that kind of grew out of what we did for the hospital staff. We were sending care packages to hospital workers, but we also kept getting requests from customers to send it to specific people. Maybe they knew a nurse in some other part of the country that they wanted to send. So we just started sending, actually shipping out these care packages, which include baked goods that we make in-house, as well as just some other fun things. And that really picked up, just not necessarily for healthcare workers, just for friends. People have been down or they haven't seen each other in so long. They just wanted to send their friends something. And that has really enabled us to stay alive as well.
Of all the businesses in the world, Faith, why did you decide to open a coffee shop?
It's a very good question. Unlike most people, this wasn't like a dream of mine. I know a lot of people have this dream to open a coffee shop. I never had that dream. I didn't really know anything about coffee. I grew up drinking coffee socially. But me and my husband are not affected by caffeine, so we don't need it to wake up in the morning. It doesn't really do anything for us. So we really didn't know anything about coffee. The reason why we started a coffee shop was actually I had this idea about 4.5 years ago to open a retail shop that provided job trainings or job opportunities for people who have barriers to employment. And that really just came out of a dissatisfaction for what I did for people in the city. We live really close to Penn Station, and we're it's just in our face all the time, like the great need that a lot of New Yorkers have. And I just felt like what I did, either helping out at a soup kitchen or giving money, were just like small, very small Band-Aids on a huge problem. And I just had this idea that, oh, if we could offer some job training or job opportunities to people, that might actually make a difference in these people's lives. So which is why we even entered the idea of having any sort of retail shop. We ended up going towards coffee after talking to a lot of people in the industry, mostly because the job training is transferable. You can learn to be a barista in our shop, learn the skills needed to make coffee, and go to another coffee shop, another restaurant, and do a similar job, and have those skills in place.
Neil A. Carousso, producer, joins us in these discussions as well. Neil?
So Joe and Faith, enjoying hearing about how you're helping other workers, and you're in such a high turnover business. So tell us about how some of them have benefited from this job skills program.
Honestly, it's a process. People come through our program, and we're still learning. This is our first time doing this, and we're still considered a young company. So we're definitely still learning how our trainees benefit from it. And every time we talk to our trainees, we learn a little bit more. But I think what I've realized is that our space is just a safe space for them. It's a place where they can make mistakes and not lose the job or have terminating effects to it. They're learning what it means to be an employee, learning what it takes and what responsibilities are important to hold a job, and we allow them to sort of go through that process without the pressure of having to perform at the level we ultimately want them to perform at, but allows them to sort of grow into that space. And I think people need that time. People who haven't had that training in their lives need a little bit of time just to learn that. And so I think that's been the most beneficial thing, is just allowing people to grow into what what potential they have.
How many workers are on staff? I assume most of them are younger?
Yes. So technically, the number has changed since COVID. During the peak of our business, we probably had around 13 employees, and right now we have 6. But not all of our employees are trainees. Most of our employees are, I guess you would call them regular employees. And then we have the training program that's on the side.
Faith, without going into too many personal details, I think people who might like to do something like this wonder what you did before this, or how you and your husband were able to take on a business that also has a social purpose. How did you do it?
So neither my husband or I have a background in hospitality. I was actually an opera singer for 10 years before we opened Bird and Branch, and my husband was in event marketing. But how we financially were able, we have investors. So we have a great group of people who believed in our mission, but also believed in us, who have invested their money and also their time. We have a board and people who give us advice, and we can talk things through. But people who are really behind the mission of Bird and Branch. And I think that's really what makes what made our shop successful, at least at the beginning, was just having people who supported the mission behind our shop and were ready to stand behind us and give us money to enable to start the business.
That's very interesting. How did you find investors and people who believed in your mission? How'd you do that?
So honestly, this was not something, the thought of this kind of like gave me anxiety when we were initially talking about it, because I'm not good at asking people for money or selling myself or, all those things are very counterintuitive for me. But I just talked about what we were planning to do a lot. People would ask me what we're doing, and it was a big part of our lives. And, we were quitting our jobs. We were working at coffee shops to learn the industry. So it was just a big part of our lives. So we were talking about it a lot to just our friends, random people we met. And every one of our investors actually approached us about investing. We never pitched to anyone. They just were like, hey, this sounds interesting. Like, do you guys need money? Do you guys need investors? And so every single one of them actually came to us.
And were they people you knew through opera and events?
People we know, like family friends. We attend a church, so a bunch of church friends, like friends of friends. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Just people who are, and even since we've opened, we've gotten even more, even more people asking, like, oh, if you guys ever need anything, like, let me know. I'd be happy to invest. So I think it's, people believe in the mission, and people believe in giving people an opportunity, and would love to, if they're going to invest in something, they want to invest in something that gives back.
Faith, do you hope to expand at some point, or are you going to open another shop?
We would love to expand at some point. What that looks like, we're not entirely sure, whether that's just opening another Bird and Branch, or if we want to diversify the job training. Opening another Bird and Branch would just kind of multiply what we're doing, enable us to have more trainees at a given time. But if we were to sort of diversify our training, maybe we go deeper in the industry. Maybe we start roasting, or maybe we start, packaging and shipping more. Then we can diversify the types of jobs, because not everybody wants to be front of house barista. And we understand that. And so we want to, I think our hope is that at some point we could allow people to train for other types of jobs.
It strikes me that your coffee shop is almost more of a bakery and a coffee shop. Yeah,
it has kind of morphed into that. Yes. Wow. Originally, I have developed most of the recipes for our shop, and that. But since in the last 6 months, we've kind of been able to hire a kitchen manager, and she has been taking on more of that. But at the beginning, it was all me. And honestly, I would not profess to be a baker. I didn't enjoy baking until we opened the shop. And it really was out of a necessity. I was in my head, like, if we're gonna look at the bottom line, I was like, okay, the easy things we should make in-house. Cookies, brownies, small things we should do in-house. And because we're Asian, I thought we should play on our strengths, and do some things that are, Asian inspired. And so that's kind of how things came about. And I think I kind of lucked out. I did a lot of research, and a lot of testing and R&D, but we did kind of luck out, and things really came together, and we have a great menu of house-made baked goods now that I am quite proud of. And so, yes, so we are kind of a bakery / coffee shop now, but that was not totally the intention when we first started.
That's nice.
You said you raised money to start the business by just talking. And the phrase struck out to me because I asked an extremely successful businesswoman in Manhattan one time. I said to her, Lois, how do you sell? And she looked as if she'd never been asked before. And she said, I don't know. I just talk. And you're a great talker.
Oh, thank you.
You talk about the mission and the business and the fact that you're still learning it. And it just is very, very effective.
Thank you.
Are you done singing opera, or will you go back to that?
I don't know. We recently had a baby, so
congratulations.
Thank you. When we started this business, I wasn't ready to say I was done. I think I don't know if I'll go back to it. It is something that is quite time consuming and requires a lot of practice and rehearsal time. So I'm really not sure. I hope to continue singing at some point, but only time will tell if that's actually going to happen.
Friends, if you're in Midtown, when you're in Midtown, go to 45th and 9th if you have seen this video, and go in and introduce yourself to Faith Lee, 45th and 9th Bird and Branch Coffee Shop, and we can see that she will give you a warm welcome and be happy to see you. Thanks, Faith.
Thank you.